Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Victors Podcast. So, before we get into this video of this week's matchup against Minnesota versus Michigan, finally it's back. I just want to give a shout out to the 50 subscribers I got. I'm really happy. It's a small channel. I just want to grow to get to 1,000, finally get monetized, to get something out of this. And I'm just really happy I got 50. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to all the people who like the videos, comment, etc. Let's make it 100, okay? So, Michigan travels to the TCF Bank Stadium against Minnesota, ranked inside the top 25, and they're coming off a 9-4 season, losing to Alabama in the Citrus Bowl. This is a quick little overview of last season's accomplishments by both teams. So, Minnesota's ranked inside the top 25 too. I think they're at 24 right now. They might move up after this week. And they're coming off a pretty good 11-2 season, beating number 4 Penn State in the regular season and Auburn in the Outback Bowl. They started off 9-0, and I'm pretty sure that's the first time that's happened in like 50 years, which is crazy. So I'm kind of happy for them, but I'm obviously rooting for Michigan. So, while Minnesota gets back Rashad Bateman, which is huge for their offense, Michigan has to figure out their identity. UVM has to replace Shea Patterson, obviously. They replace him with Joe Milton, and I just can't wait to see how Joe plays. I really want to see if his touch is improved, his accuracy, and if how well he runs with the ball, what reads he makes, if he makes the right decisions when the pocket breaks down, and for lack of better words, will he crack under pressure? Milton has immense pressure coming into this game. I can't even describe it. This guy is hyped up by most Michigan fans like Heisman worthy. Like, I was watching Steve Dees the other day and on Michigan podcast, and he was talking about how, well, I'm surprised how Michigan hasn't really hyped up their team this season, and no offense, but I can't disagree more. This team is so hyped up. Their defense, Joe Milton, the running back room, it's crazy. And Joe Milton's going to have to keep his composure in the pocket. If it breaks down, he might have to make those quick plays on the run, and just kind of like how Justin Fields does. So, his performance might also depend on the O-line's performance, though. That's the thing. Michigan lost 4 tested offensive linemen to the draft. Our current projected starting O-line is Ryan Hayes at left tackle, Chuck Filigia at left tackle, Zach Carpenter at center, Andrew Stuber at right guard, and Jalen Mayfield at right tackle. I'm really excited to see how Ed Warner has developed these guys, though. Like, people underestimate also how big of a difference Mayfield returning is. Having a potential first-round pick to come lead a young O-line is huge. And with him returning and Ed Warner being the O-line coach he is, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great. I think we're going to have a great year, honestly, at the offensive line position. And vice versa, we might have a terrible year if they're not developed and they're not battle-tested, they don't know how to play in the game. You know what I'm saying? So, even if we don't have an O-line, though, that's great. What I'm about to say kind of contradicts what I just said, but our running back room is so stacked that I don't think it matters. Like, no disrespect to Keontae Shadd or Micah Treadway, but I think our running backs will run all over Minnesota's defensive tackles, and I think we can have a lot of success with Chris Evans on screens and sweep plays. The one thing I love about Chris Evans is that he can play all around on offense, and he has such a quick acceleration. He kind of reminds me of Curtis Samuel, and we all know who he is. He was a star on the 2016 Ohio State team. He basically beat Michigan in a one-man team on that offense. And then with the rest of the running back room, it's just completely stacked. I mean, with Hassan, Charbonnet, Blake Corum, and Christian Turner, it's ridiculous. Like, Blake and Turner will be nice to see him develop, you know, because we haven't really seen that year. And like last year when Turner played, he kind of fumbled a lot, so I want to see how he's developed. He opted back in, which was pretty cool. I don't really think he's going to contribute that much, but it was nice to see him develop. Blake is obviously a freshman coming in. He's supposed to be really good. He's supposed to be like as good as Charbonnet, so I'm excited to see him. And then the main focus is on Charbonnet and Haskins, though. The thing I see about them is that they're both fast and agile, and obviously Zach is bigger, but Hassan is harder to tackle. Like, this guy against Illinois could not be tackled. It was crazy. That was his big breakout game, and it was just crazy to watch him, especially on that first touchdown when he just did that, just the 360. He just did the quick turn, and then I think the safety ran into the linebacker, and then he got free for a touchdown. It was sweet. What I'm really impressed about Hassan too is how hard of a runner he is. Like I said, he doesn't stop, especially against Notre Dame. Like I said, he's hard to tackle, but it's also because he's so hard to stop. Because against Notre Dame, he was hurdling dudes, he was running past them, he was blown by them. He's just such a power guy, and it's like, it's not even though that he's necessarily that big, he's just such a powerful running back. Okay, so last year both running backs combined for 1,340 yards with 15 touchdowns, and I think it will be the bulk of our offense against Minnesota. To go on to our receiver core, it will go up against a decent defense ranked number 37th in the country last year, 12 spots behind Michigan. They gave up an average of 184 yards passing and 56% completion percentage on 27 attempts. So Michigan's young receiving core of Cornelius Johnson, Giles Jackson, Mike Sandersall, and junior Ronnie Bell will have to step up and create space against safeties Tyler Nubin and Jordan Howden. I don't know if I said that right. And then the corners, Coney Durr and Benjamin St. Juste. So I think Giles Jackson will be the biggest threat against Minnesota, being able to catch and accelerate on the line or out of the backfield. His 4.43 40-yard dash directly equates to the field. Last year he brung a kickoff back against Maryland for a touchdown, and then offensive success against Minnesota lies on the back of the O-line and Joe, like I said earlier. So our running backs will be good enough to run all over their defense, I think personally, and our receivers are fast enough to create space. But we just really need time for Joe Milton in the pocket. Because I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know how good he is outside of the pocket. I don't think he's as good as Justin Fields. He might show some Justin Fields. He might be able to run out of the pocket a little bit, throw on runs, but I don't think he is. So our offensive success will mainly lie Joe Milton making the right plays, offensive line blocking, and even if the offensive line doesn't block well for the running backs, I still think our running backs will shine. All right, and with that in mind, it's time for Don Brown to show up. Let's go. All right? It's a top 25 team. We hired Brian G. Mary and Bob Shoop. You said we were going to work in more zone, and this defense has talent all over the field, so prove yourself. Our D-line has arguably the two best ends in the country. With Kwity Paye and Hutchinson, I think they'll have no problem getting to the Tanner Morgan. But the biggest problem will be stopping Rashad Bateman and Tanner Morgan, especially on play-action passes. Rashad has incredible separation and great on 50-50 balls, and our corners will be tested this game extremely. And I don't know who is ultimately going to be put on Bateman, because I think Gemon Green and Sammy Foston are more talented than Vincent Gray, but Vincent Gray is supposedly like a lock at the number one corner position, and he's a leader, but he didn't really show up last year that very often. Don't get me wrong, though. Against Middle Tennessee, he had a good game, but other than that, only a few games come to mind when he really shined out or stood out to us. He had the big stop on the third down against Middle Tennessee. That's what I really remember. He has some other stops. I'm pretty sure he played against Ohio State, and he had some good stops, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. And then also, Don Brown will have to keep everything inside. So we don't want Bateman getting outside because he's so likely to get a touchdown because he has such good separation that if he gets outside and he just goes down the sideline, I think only Daxton Hill will be able to catch up to him. And even then, it's going to be like 20, 30-yard play. So we need Bateman to get forced inside so that Daxton Hill can meet him or Brad Hawkins can meet him. I think both are fast enough to meet him, but they need to force him inside more because when he gets outside, obviously he gets more touchdowns. You saw that against Penn State. And another thing to bring up is that obvious blitzes don't really work too often against Tanner Morgan because, like I said, they usually read the blitz and change the play to RPO where the running back picks up the blitz and Bateman gets separation. This happened against Penn State a lot last year, and so the big impact of this game on defense will be disguising our blitzes well and switching off if it's picked up before the snap. So a lot of times he'll come up to the line before the snap, he'll read, so he'll change the play, and then play action, a quick fake handoff, and then he just lobs it over the line to Rashad Bateman on the outside, go for a touchdown. So that's the biggest part of the defensive stoppage against Minnesota. And I really want Don Brown to do good. We talk about him a lot. We hate on him a lot. But ultimately, I just want him to do good, obviously, because this is our team. And I really think the addition of Brian Jean-Mary and Bob Shoop is huge. I think them developing the linebackers more and them developing safeties more will help us in these big game scenarios where safeties and linebackers haven't really showed up. And I really want to see how Mike Beck does. So, he hasn't really showed himself that much. I remember seeing him on the trick play punt last year, which was cool. But on defense, I haven't really seen him. And the Mike linebacker position is so huge in college football. They basically lead a defense. Besides the Mike linebacker position and defensive end, it's probably maybe the safety that has like the biggest impact. So he has to do well. And that's it on the defense. And some final thoughts are Minnesota's secondary will most likely be weakened by the loss of Antoine Winfield Jr., but on the other hand, so will ours, because Ambry Thomas is leaving, and our cornerback room and Harbaugh need this win. Our cornerback room is young. It's untested. Vincent Gray hasn't shown up a lot last year, and in big games, Harbaugh doesn't really show up, and especially on the road. Our only win against a ranked team on the road was 2018 Michigan versus Michigan State, and Michigan State, I'm pretty sure, finished 7-6, very mediocre. They weren't the best team, weren't the worst, but Harbaugh really needs this win. That's my final thought. Ultimately, I'm kind of getting 2018 Notre Dame Michigan vibes, so I'm going to predict it a 21-31 loss, but I think over the next few games, we will develop our offense, and all the bad things we see in this game will kind of be equaled out by all the good things we see, because I think we'll build on it. Like, I think if Joe plays bad, I think he'll be able to learn from his mistakes and move up, unlike Patterson. Kind of regressed. And I think our offensive line will learn, so I think they'll be better off down the season. So, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, like, comment, and as always, go blue.